in these streets.
And I'm just like you.
We getting locked by these caps.
And I'm just like you.
We fulfill the prophecies.
And I'm just like you.
You might be light, I might be dark.
But I'm just like you.
We kill each other over colors.
And I'm just like you.
I'm in these ghettos, in these
And
slums.
I'm just like you.
They call you nigga, call me Spick.
And I'm just like you.
You was 1619, I was 1492. We getting shot in these streets.
And I'm just like you.
We getting locked by these caps.
And I'm just like you.
Welcome to FCN Quick News of the Day. I'm your host, Captain Zakar, and today in the news we have Offset, who is embarrassed by Cardi B. Let's read that article.
Offset says Cardi B was an embarrassment to him after she dropped WAP and wanted her to tone down lyrics.
Let's scroll down and read some of that article there.
While it was Cardi B who filed for divorce, it might have been Offset that tipped the scales, but it had nothing to do with cheating.
They had nothing. Now, if you've paid attention, you saw Cardi B give her side of the story and saying that it had nothing to do with cheating. There wasn't a baby and things of that nature, but she did mention that she was tired of arguing and not seeing eye to eye. Could this have been it? Maybe so, maybe not, but today we'll use it for a teaching lesson. Read on.
Cardi B explained that she was just tired of arguing with Offset. The argument, according to Media Takeout, was because of WAP. While that is a #1 single, Offset allegedly didn't like the music she was making. It was too vulgar for his liking. We spoke with two people close to Cardi, and they tell us that Offset was upset with Cardi's image. He felt that she was making thought music and was embarrassed by it, so he wanted her to stop. Cardi's friend explained Offset wanted Cardi to stop being so vulgar in her music. He wanted her to be all clean, but that's not who Cardi is.
That does sound kind of ironic because her not being clean is what he was attracted to, and he ended up marrying her. Read on.
And he claims that when Cardi dropped her latest song, WAP, Offset was furious. The pal told Media Takeout News Offset was really upset with WAP. I think he's embarrassed by her.
I think he's embarrassed by her. Let's go to the scripts on that. In this, both are wrong in the situation. Why is that? Because the laws of God were not applied. And when the laws of God are not applied in a marriage, it is bound for destruction. Give me that in Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 4.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4.
Marriage
is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled.
So marriage is honorable in all. In the eyes of God, marriage is honorable, and the bed is undefiled. Read.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
See, the problem that is in the black and brown, which the blacks and Hispanic community, is that we do not honor marriage the way that God says we should honor marriage. We have our own understanding of how marriage should play out, but not how God says it should be. Give me that in Sirach chapter 6, and let's read verse 7 to show how God says you honor a marriage.
The book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first.
If thou wouldest get a friend, a husband and a wife are friends before they are actually married. God says that in order to honor a marriage the way that he says is right, you have to prove each other first. And that proving is not just by the flesh, but by the spirit. Our people in the black and brown community, who are the Israelites according to the Bible, far too often we do not prove the spirit of the individual that we are taking on to spend the rest of our life with. It is solely based on the flesh, and it ends in disaster because the WAP does get old. Let's go to Sirach chapter 26, and let's read verse 13. So when you're proving, according to God, what things should you look out for as a man when you are looking for a wife? Read that.
Sirach chapter 26 and verse 13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones.
Is that wife that you are taking on, is she going to be discreet once you marry her, or is her goods and everything that you do going to be on public display for the world to see? Those are things you have to weigh when you are taking on a wife in marriage. Can we pull up the definition of discreet? The definition of discreet. Okay, read that.
Discreet, careful and circumspect in one's speech or actions, especially in order to avoid causing offense or to gain an advantage.
So God says that you should be looking for a wife that is discreet, that is careful in her speech, not willing to tell the world that she don't cook or she don't clean, but she'll tell you how she got the ring. You have to be very careful of who you are marrying and make sure your wife is discreet. Let's go to Sirach chapter 41, and let's read 16 and 17, because discreet goes into what God calls shamefaced. Let's read that.
Sirach chapter 41 and verse 16. Therefore, be shamefaced according to my word.
According to God's word. Read.
For it is not good to retain all shamefacedness. Neither is it altogether approved in everything.
So some things that you should speak up and say something about, and some things God says keep your mouth closed. Read verse 17.
Be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother.
One thing you should practice shamefacedness and discreetness with is, God says, whoredom. Be ashamed of that whoredom. And how are some ways that a woman can be seen in whoredom or be practicing whoredom? Give me that in Sirach chapter 26 and verse 9.
The book of Sirach chapter 26 and verse 9. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids.
So God says one thing you should be ashamed of is whoredom, and that way you show your whoredom is through your dress. God says be ashamed of that. A woman should cover up her body, especially when you are married. Let's go back to Sirach chapter 41, and let's read verse 23. What else should you be ashamed of and practice discreetness? Read.
Sirach chapter 41 and verse 23, or of iterating and speaking again that which thou hast heard, and of revealing of secrets.
Revealing of secrets. God says, be discreet when it comes to that. Keep your mouth shut. Know what to say and what not to say, when to say it and when not to say it. Be discreet. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 30. And let's read verse 18, because Solomon even didn't want to know what was going on between a husband and a wife. Let's read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 30 and verse 18. There be three things which are too wonderful for me, yea, four which I know not.
Read.
The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid.
Read that part again.
And the way of a man with a maid.
Solomon didn't even want to know what a husband and a wife did in the bedroom. That was between him and her. He said that one thing right there, the fourth thing I'm about to name, that is too wonderful for me. I don't want to know about it, is what Solomon's saying. Give me that in Titus chapter 2. And let's read 3 through 5.
The book of Titus, chapter 2, in verse 3. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness.
So an aged woman, a woman of marriageable age, should be in behavior as what God considers holy. Read.
Not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things.
Teachers of good things. Read.
That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands,
Read.
To love their children, to be discreet.
To be what?
Discreet.
God says his daughters should be discreet. This is the ideal woman in the eyes of God. He wants her to be shamefaced, to be discreet. Read on.
Good, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands,
Uh-huh.
that the word of God be not blasphemed.
Now, what should a woman look for when she is honoring marriage and proving a husband to spend the rest of her life with? Give me that in Tobit chapter 8, and let's read 5 through 7.
The book of Tobit, chapter 8 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Then begat Tobias to say, Blessed art thou, O God of our fathers, and blessed is thy holy and glorious name forever. Let the heavens bless thee, and all thy creatures. Thou madest Adam, and gavest him Eve his wife, for an helper
For a helper,
and stay.
Read.
Of them came mankind. Thou hast said, It is not good that man should be alone.
A man should have a wife. Every man should have a wife. A wife should have a husband as a hedge of protection. Read.
Let us make unto him an aid like unto himself.
Uh-huh.
And now, O Lord, I take not this my sister for lust.
Every woman should be honoring marriage by proving a man that is not going to take you for lust. Read that part again.
And now, O Lord, I take not this my sister for lust, but uprightly. Therefore, mercifully ordain that we may become aged together.
Give me that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And let's read 3 through 4. What else does a woman need to look for in a husband when proving him and honoring marriage in God's eyes? Read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 3.
Uh-huh.
Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Uh-huh.
The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife.
So when you are looking for a husband, make sure he wants to render due benevolence only to you. Make sure he doesn't want multiple women. He doesn't want to be a swinger. Make sure that she doesn't want to introduce other man into the bedroom. Make sure that you prove a man or a woman, a husband or a wife, based on them wanting to give due benevolence to you and none other all the days that you grow aged together. Let's go to Sirach chapter 37 and verse 12.
Sirach chapter 37 and verse 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord.
So you should be looking for a godly man that keeps the commandments of the Lord. Why? Give me that in Genesis chapter 18, verse 19.
The book of Genesis chapter 18 and verse 19. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him.
Because a godly man will command his children and the household. He will make sure it's running according to what God says. Read that again.
For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment.
To do justice and judgment, to do what's right in the sight of God. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3, and let's read verse 18 and 19.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 18. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands.
So for any marriage to be successful, the wife has to submit herself to her own husband. If Offset wanted the lyrics to be toned down and to stop making thought music, God says a wife must submit to her own husband. That's the only way that a marriage will be successful in the Israelite community. Read on.
As it is fit in the Lord.
Because God says that it is fit. It is right. It is right for the man to lead based on the commandments of God. Read.
Husbands, love your wives.
Husbands have to love their wives according to the commandments of God and not according to what the world says. Read verse 19 again.
Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them.
And make sure you're not bitter against them if they tend to have more fame than you or more honor, a better job, whatever it may be. But for any marriage to be successful, a wife must submit to her husband and a husband must love his wife according to the laws of God.
We used to scream black power, while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.